prudence. It's a word that often gets tossed around. But what does it really mean? At its core, being prudent means being wise and careful in your actions, especially when it comes to making important decisions. Think about it. How many times have you made a snap decision only to regret it later? That's where prudence comes in. It's about taking a step back, weighing your options, and considering the potential consequences of your choices. Let's break it down. When you're prudent, you're not just acting on a whim. You're thinking about what's best for you in the long run. You take the time to analyze your situation, gather information, and reflect on your past experiences. Being prudent means you have the foresight to anticipate problems before they arise and plan accordingly. It's like having a mental checklist that helps you navigate through life's complexities. Now, you might be wondering, how does this apply to everyday life? Well, let's start with business. If you're an entrepreneur or a manager, being prudent can mean the difference between success and failure. Imagine you're considering a new investment. A prudent approach would involve evaluating all potential risks and rewards before diving in. You want to look at market trends, analyze your competition, and perhaps consult with experts. This careful consideration can help you avoid costly mistakes and set your business up for long-term success. But it's not just in business where prudence shines. Think about your relationships. When you're in a partnership, being prudent means taking the time to consider both your needs and your partners. It's about communication and understanding, making sure that your decisions benefit both parties. For instance, if you're thinking about moving in together, a prudent approach would involve discussing finances, future goals, and how you'll handle conflicts. This kind of thoughtful dialogue can strengthen your relationship and build a solid foundation for the future. Even in our daily lives, prudence plays a vital role. Have you ever made an impulse purchase only to find yourself regretting it later? Being prudent in your spending means taking a moment to ask yourself, do I really need this? How will this affect my budget? By practicing this kind of self-reflection, you can avoid unnecessary debt and save for things that truly matter to you. Now, let's talk about the flip side, recklessness. When you act impulsively without considering the consequences, you're setting yourself up for potential pitfalls. Reckless decisions can lead to financial strain, damaged relationships, and missed opportunities. It's like driving a car without checking your mirrors. You might get where you want to go, but the risk of an accident is significantly higher. Prudence, on the other hand, is like driving with caution. You're aware of your surroundings, you follow the rules, and you make informed choices that keep you safe. So, how can you cultivate this quality of prudence in your life? Start by practicing mindfulness. Take a moment before making decisions, big or small. Ask yourself what the potential outcomes are and whether they align with your long-term goals. You can even jot down your thoughts in a journal. Writing things out can help clarify your thinking and provide a clearer picture of your options. Another way to enhance your prudence is by seeking advice from others. Sometimes we can get too close to a situation to see it clearly. Talking to a trusted friend or mentor can provide valuable perspective and help you think through your choices more thoroughly. It's also essential to embrace the idea of learning from your mistakes. Prudence isn't about being perfect, it's about being reflective. When you make a decision that doesn't turn out the way you hoped, take the time to analyze what went wrong. What could you have done differently? This kind of self-assessment can help you make better choices in the future. Now, let's pivot a bit and talk about the principle of prudence in accounting. You might be thinking, what does accounting have to do with my everyday life? Well, a lot, actually. The principle of prudence in accounting, often referred to as conservatism, requires businesses to be cautious when recording their financial statements. This means they shouldn't overestimate their revenue or underestimate their expenses. Why? Because this approach ensures that financial reports are accurate and reliable. For example, if a company has invested in a manufacturing plant but then notices a decline in demand, it needs to assess the asset's value carefully. If the plant's worth has decreased, the company must recognize that loss instead of pretending everything is fine. This kind of prudence helps avoid misleading stakeholders and ensures that the company is better prepared for future challenges. Similarly, when it comes to recognizing revenue, companies must be careful not to count their chickens before they hatch. If they have a long-term contract with a customer, they should only recognize revenue when it's earned, not just when it's promised. This conservative approach helps create a more accurate picture of the company's financial health. But here's where it gets interesting. There are gray areas in accounting when it comes to applying prudence. For instance, how do you estimate the allowance for doubtful accounts? It can be tricky. You need to rely on historical data and industry trends, but there's always a level of uncertainty. This subjectivity can lead to different interpretations of what constitutes a prudent estimate. Then there's the valuation of inventory. How do you determine the net realizable value? It requires estimating selling prices and costs, which can fluctuate based on market conditions. This is where prudence becomes a balancing act between caution and accuracy. Now, you might be asking yourself, why aren't accounting principles more risk-forward? The answer lies in the need for accuracy and reliability. While taking risks can lead to higher profits, it can also result in significant losses. Prudence encourages businesses to avoid overestimating profits or underestimating expenses, which ultimately leads to better decision making and financial stability. So, how does this all tie back to our everyday lives? Well, being prudent isn't just a trait for accountants or business leaders. It's a valuable skill that we can all apply in various aspects of our lives. It's about making informed decisions that benefit us in the long run, whether we're managing our finances, nurturing our relationships, or pursuing our career goals. In a world that often encourages impulsive behavior and quick fixes, being prudent can feel countercultural. But the truth is, those who practice prudence often find themselves in a better position to achieve their goals. They build stronger relationships, maintain financial stability, and navigate life's challenges with greater ease. So, the next time you're faced with a decision, big or small, remember the power of prudence. Take a moment to reflect, gather information, and consider the long-term implications of your actions. By doing so, you'll be setting yourself up for success in a world that can sometimes feel chaotic and unpredictable. In conclusion, prudence is about more than just being cautious. It's about being wise and intentional in your decision making. It's a skill that can be cultivated and applied in all areas of life, from business to relationships to everyday choices. So let's embrace prudence, think carefully before we act, and make choices that will benefit us and those around us for years to come. Stay prudent, my friends, and watch how it transforms your life for the better.